This is the Dr. Shoup Show. Talk to the doc and see insider industry info at ddsradio.com.
Well, you can tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Well, it's good to have you here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. And we have reached the Ask the Expert segment of the program. And guess what? You get me today because I have additional information from the Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry meeting in Los Angeles. I was invited to be part of help a friend of mine, Simone Della Peri, the Italian dentist. He was teaching 2 hands-on workshops, and he wanted me to come out and help because I'm relatively well known in the world of microscope dentistry and air abrasion and all those things that we talk about here on the program. And it was really, really good. And there was a lot of new information that came out about the fact that in today's world, you, the dental consumer, absolutely, positively do not ever have to have a new crown put on your tooth. Now, let me put a caveat in here, a little asterisk. That is, if you already have had somebody cut your tooth down and put a crown on it, then I'm sorry, but we are sunk. We can't turn back the hands of time. If they've ground away all of your tooth to a little nub and put a whole new crown on the top of it, we can't, we're working on it, but we can't grow that new tooth back. What I'm talking about is if you have a tooth that does not currently have a crown on it, and somebody tells you, oh, we need to put a crown on this tooth, you absolutely, positively don't. Because the technology exists today, the materials exist, the know-how exists that you can avoid that. And let me give you an absolutely perfect example. In the office 2 days ago, towards the end of my day, super busy, happily, thank you very much. Patient calls. I've not seen this guy in 8 years. It's been 8 years since he walked through my door. He calls my office and says, I am in a terrible jam. I am giving a presentation this evening, and I just was eating my lunch with a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, and you have your 2 big front teeth and the upper front teeth, and then there's the 2 little side teeth, one on either side. He had snapped one of those side teeth off dead flush with the gum line. I mean, it was as flat as a pool table. And continued to munch on his sandwich unbeknownst that he had snapped off his tooth and ate his tooth. I know. I hope you're not having lunch right now. But he realized what he had done. He realized that his tooth was gone and that it was completely missing and that he had this speech to give in the evening. And so he calls me in this absolute dead panic. What can you do for me? Help me, please. And so, being the nice guy that I am, told my staff, I said, okay, bring him in. Let's see what we can do. And this story is exactly what I'm telling you about, because there isn't a worse case scenario. If dentists tell you, oh, there's not enough tooth left here to build your new tooth on, you have to have a crown, let me tell you that having a front tooth snapped off at the gum line, there isn't a worse scenario. There's nothing for me to work with. Can you imagine? But here's the cool thing. The technology and the equipment that we have allows us to fix it. I'll tell you how. You're listening to the Dr. Randy Shoup Show. I am your host, Dr. Randy Shoup. And we're talking about the fact that you really absolutely never have to have a crown placed on your tooth ever again. And we're talking about that constellation of things. If you've already had your tooth ground down and had a crown on it, I'm sorry, kiddo, but you're going to keep that crown and there's nothing I can do about it. But if you simply have fillings or something even catastrophic happen, you don't have to have a crown. So here's what you do in today's world. Our adhesive systems, which is a really fancy name, It's the Starbucks coffee version of the name for glue. Okay, we have gluing systems, adhesive systems that are so good, we can glue stuff to your tooth that is actually stronger than your tooth is actually made and put together or glued together. It's that strong. But you have to know what the heck you're doing. You can't just schlep a bunch of material on there and expect it to work. It's a system. And that's what we were teaching at the Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry meeting in Los Angeles. These adhesive systems are really, really wonderful, but the material that we have to build the tooth up sometimes gets fragile if it's so big. So what do? Some guys have invented Kevlar reinforcing fibers. It looks like little pieces of yarn, but they're made out of woven Kevlar. And you embed this yarn inside the restoration, the filling, the buildup of the tooth, and it makes the restorations of the tooth incredibly durable. I got something else on my desk. Is a box of restorative material that is illegal in the United States. Completely illegal. Cannot use it on a human being in the United States. Now here's the kicker. They use it all over the place in Europe. There's a particular company called GC America, which makes a phenomenal, wonderful, restorative, tooth-colored dental material. I mean, I use their material all the time. But they have made this dental restorative material, and what they've done is they've chopped up into little teeny tiny, itsy-bitsy, little eeny-weeny pieces of Kevlar fibers and simply mixed it in with the filling material. This stuff is like granite. It is the hardest, strongest, most durable, bulletproof filling material on the planet. And guess what? We can't have it here in the U.S. The FDA has said, no, there's not been enough testing, there's not been enough this, there's not been enough that. So we're working with GC America to get this material. So until we can get our government, who's only here to help us, get this material so that we can use it, we're using these Kevlar reinforced fibers. So this is what we did. This guy shows up, sits in my chair, his front tooth is snapped off at the gum line. And so we use this adhesive glue system to glue these Kevlar fibers onto the top of this flat tooth, and we make them stand up straight, just where his natural tooth should be, but isn't. Then we take tooth-colored, I say we, I'm talking about me. I'm the guy that's doing this. But my fellow Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry folks, they can do this too. Okay, so I take tooth-colored filling material and build it up around this monolith of Kevlar fibers that is adhered and attached to his tooth. And lo and behold, you give me about 20 minutes and my little sculpting skills and some different colors of tooth-colored filling material, and by golly, in about 20 minutes, there sat where his natural tooth used to sit, but snapped off at the gum line, a brand new, shiny, glowing, perfectly color matched, durable, functional tooth. Get this. He never had to have a shot. I never numbed him up. I never drilled on his tooth at all. I used the air abrasion system and roughened the surface of the little nub that was left. Actually, it was flat as a pancake. And then built all this material up. It simply tells you the level of sophistication that exists in the materials and the techniques that we have. So when some dentist tells you, you've got a great big filling in this tooth, and oh my goodness, we couldn't ever think of putting another filling in there. This filling is just far too big. You have to have a crown. I want you to jump up out of the chair as quickly as possible and run away. Because it's not true. They're telling you what used to be true. They're not telling you something false, but they're simply telling you data and information that's at least 10 years old. We've been doing this for that long. And so that's what I want you to understand. That's the new information.
You're listening to the Dr. Shoup Show. Exclusive insider info, audio, and video is online now at ddsradio.com.